All right, welcome back, everybody. It is the Awesemo.com NHL DFS Strategy Show. We've got a big 9-gamer to go through today. I'm your host, Jake Hari. I'm joined by my buddy, Michael Clifford, Slim Cliffy. What's up, Cliffy?
Not a whole lot, man. Just still thinking about that slate there that we had last night. I ended up not doing that badly, but it was kind of a weird slate. Like, I think Seattle Vegas went just about as we expected, but a couple close games. The Coyotes kind of like, they didn't run over the Sharks. Like, Carl Vejmelka had a very nice night, but it was just a weird slate. I think the one thing I took away from last night is that there's absolutely no matchup that is advantageous for the Detroit Red Wings. They just look like they just look like, at least in the first half of the season, they look like they were really at least trying hard every game. I don't know what's going on. Like, their last month or so, they've looked really bad.
Did that slide call come through, Tyler? Yeah. Okay. Cool. Yeah. Good start to the show. Yeah. Brutal slate for me last night. I lost I think 80%. It was maybe like 65, 70. So it was bad. I mean, I kind of knew it wasn't going well. So I went to bed even earlier than usual. So woke up and saw my quote unquote winnings from the site and just threw that one in the trash. And we've got a 9-gamer today with some better prize pools. Sponsor Yahoo Daily Fantasy Sports. Speaking of better prize pools, they've got a 1K to first over on Yahoo today. It's called the Thursday Baller. 5K prize pool, $15 entry fee, 11 max. So I'll be putting my 11 in there and all the lower stake stuff. Been having fun playing on Yahoo over the last 6 months. I think I was playing some as well last year. But yeah, it's a great place to play. If you like NHL DFS, 1K to first. I mean, you're not going to get the 10K to first, the 20K to first over on Yahoo at least yet, but it's been my best ROI by far across the other sites. So go support Yahoo. They've been supporting us all year. If you guys have not just yet liked and subscribed, more importantly, subscribed to the show or the YouTube channel, please do so. It helps us out a lot, as you hear Cliffy talking about every single day on the NHL Strategy Show. We've got some free premium tools as well for today. The NHL ownership projections, as well as the NBA player projections. So we can talk about ownership openly. Feel free to give out numbers, Cliffy, because they're unlocked for everybody. We've also got an Awesemo MVP program going on right now. If you look at the pinned message, if you're in YouTube chat, if you look at the pinned message, it's right there. You can get more information. But basically, you get Awesemo discounts and the first crack at beta testing new tools and features by joining the Awesemo MVP program. And the way you sign up is by texting MVP to 1-660-656-4417, and then you'll be automatically entered in to win a year of Awesemo Plus Platinum. You can look at the pinned message up at the top. It's highlighted in blue from the Awesemo Daily Fantasy account or in the description. So a couple places to check that out if you want to see what that number is. It's very easy to sign up and you can potentially win some free stuff. Let's get into the first of the 9 games. Mr. Clifford, we've got a 2.5 implied total for the Devils, 3.9 for the Bruins. Nico Dawes, I'm seeing as the probable goalie, although he's not confirmed, and Linus Ullmark is confirmed for the Bruins. Swayman coming off a bad game. I don't know if it's just a back-to-back situation or if they're just letting Ullmark get a start in here. Have they been splitting time, actually? It feels like Swayman's been getting the majority of games.
Yeah, typically Swayman has been playing a fair bit. I mean, they do try to split because they don't want to wear Swayman out before they get to the playoffs. But he got blown up, so it kind of makes sense.
Yeah, and I was heavy on Boston that game. So we got another popular Boston 1 night, Boston 2 also getting some ownership, almost nothing on the Devils side for ownership. Even Dougie Hamilton, 6,200 coming in at 4.1%. So it looks like a good spot for Boston 1 for sure, but there are a lot of top lines to choose from tonight that we're going to get to. So where does Boston 1 rank for you amongst top lines tonight?
See, that's the problem. I'm glad you brought that up about this slate tonight. At least when I was researching the slate, 7 of the 9 games featured a favorite that was minus 200 or better. Now, I think the Islanders have fallen just under minus 200, at least on some sites, but it's still real close. There's only one favorite tonight that's under 63% favorite to win. You're either going to go with a heavy favorite or, one of the plethora of underdog options. So if you want, and I think that's going to dilute the ownership too, right? Which is kind of a nice thing when you have favorites, because usually when you have one huge favorite, we saw Florida the other night with a ton of ownership when Montreal was in town. But now there's a bunch of Floridas on this slate. So how much ownership can go to Toronto or to Florida or to Carolina or to Colorado? So you do have to kind of pick and choose exactly where you want to attack. And New Jersey's kind of turned their game around, at least since Dougie Hamilton came back. It's kind of solidified their defense a little bit. They're no worse than a middle of the road defensive team, which is, an improvement over where they were a couple months ago. Even Nico Dawes has looked fine in net. Josh and I have talked about it on quite a few shows. There are ice time concerns at time with the top Boston guys. There have been, 16, 17-minute games from Bergeron and Marchand over the last month. So I think in a situation like this, what I'd like to do is go and look at line matching and see how they're going to match up. And the reason I would do that in this game is because the Jack Hughes line tends to not be as proficient controlling the puck as the Hischier line. Hischier and Brad have been very, very good together this year. Thomas Tatar certainly doesn't hurt having him on the wing. And it looks like that Hall Pasternak line is the one that's going to go and face off against Hischier. So I actually don't mind that Boston top line here tonight of Marchand, Bergeron, and DeBrusk. They've still been really, really good. It's just they're not really generating a ton of offense. 33 scoring chances per 60 minutes over their last 100 minutes played so far this month. That's good, but it's not elite. It's on the defensive side of things where they've really been locking things down. Only 15 scoring chances allowed. So, controlling nearly 70% of the scoring chances were on the ice. That's just, sheer dominance, but it's not really generating a ton of offense. So, it's a decent matchup going into that Devils top line, but it's not as if the Devils top line itself is bad. In 130 minutes, Hughes, Mercer, and Sharon Govich are near 60% of the scoring chance share themselves. So, I just talked about how the Devils have been getting better defensively. That includes that top line, that top Jack Hughes line. So honestly, I think the better matchup here is Boston 1, but when you factor in ice time concerns, the fact that the Devils have been getting a little bit better at 5-on-5, if you're single entry or 3 maxing here tonight, I think Boston is one of the spots you can avoid. If I were to do anything, I think I might go to, some sort of power play stack here for Boston because, David Pasternak is the guy that's been kind of carrying this offense for about a month now. And the Devils penalty kill is not very good. It's certainly fallen off over the last month. They're in the bottom 5 of the NHL by expected goals against. They're sandwiched between Ottawa and Montreal. So that kind of tells you how their penalty kill has been going. So I think if I were to go to Boston, it'd be some sort of power play stack like Bergeron, Marchand, Pasternak, but that's really expensive. So you can do Bergeron, Pasternak, McAvoy, something along those lines. So if anything for me in this game, it would be a Boston power play stack. On the New Jersey side, I understand wanting to play New Jersey, and I think that Brad Hischier Tatar line is honestly just fine here tonight as a filler type stack. You're going into that Boston second line. They have been locking things down a bit, but historically they're more high event than the top line. So if anything from the New Jersey side, it would be Brad Hischier and Tatar. Like I said, they have been good together in a small sample, 46 scoring chances per 60 minutes. But Boston's arguably the best defensive team in hockey now with Hampus Lindholm on the blue line. I think if I'm looking for an underdog, I'm looking elsewhere.
Yep, agreed with pretty much everything you said. I've got both of the Boston top 2 lines written down. Boston 2 has actually been playing really well. I looked at their last, it was either 10 or 12 games, and they're well over 3 expected goals for per 60. So it was about 100, 110 minutes, somewhere in there. So I've been playing much higher pace than what we saw for the first however many games they were together, where it was kind of a slow pace. They were, well under 3 expected goals. Now they're kicking it up a notch. So I like Pastrnak on my lineups. Like on FanDuel, I like to do like 3-2-1s. I'll have a bunch of Pastrnak one-offs. But if you want a full stack, either the top 2, I think that is those are both great options. And then, I don't think I'm going to target too many New Jersey stacks on the road. The 2.5 implied total going into Boston on a 9-game slate. So if I agree, though, if you were going to a line, it would be that New Jersey 2 line. Just really, really solid numbers at 5-on-5. Although I'm seeing Jesper Bratt, is he not on the power play right now? I'm not sure what on the lineup builder. It just could be a typo, but that seems odd for a guy that almost always plays power play 1. Nathan Bastian and Damon Severson and Dougie on power play 1. Is that right?
No, their last power play, Hamilton's got kicked off the top power play unit and replaced by Nathan Bastian. Bratt is there. It's Hughes, Bratt, Hischier, Bastian. And that's something they actually did when Hamilton was hurt, if I'm not mistaken. So I guess they're just going back to it. One more thing I want to mention real quick about this game. Boston 3, that Coyle line had actually been getting used more in shutdown roles over the last couple of weeks. I think they're trying to kind of save Bergeron for the playoffs, but Craig Smith is out tonight. So I think there was a case for Jack Hughes at 10 o'clock this morning, if he was going to see a fair bit of Charlie Coyle, but with Craig Smith out, I don't know that they're going to send out that line. I think you're going to see Bergeron out against them, and that's just a no-go for me.
Any defensemen you want to mention quickly before we head to the next one?
I mean, not really. The Boston defense, I think McAvoy maybe as a one-off would kind of be the only thing I'd be looking at. Lindholm has kind of been that no man's land, especially where they might not face huge shot volumes because this is a very good defensive team. And then, after that, you're just punting. So I think it might just be some one-off McAvoy, and that's about it. That really, I'm always interested in Ryan Graves because he does have a history of good peripherals. This year hasn't been as great, but 3,600 on DraftKings isn't that bad, but I think it's probably McAvoy, nothing for me.
All right, let's go to Winnipeg and Toronto. 2.7 implied total for the Jets, 3.9 for the Leafs. Connor Hellebuck right now showing as the probable goalie, although they played last night and Hellebuck started and saw a big workload. So is Winnipeg still live for the playoffs? Is that why maybe they're thinking? Yeah. Okay. So I think it would be a long shot right now. But they're still in for the playoffs. So you could see Hellebuck go here on a back-to-back. One weird thing we saw just out of nowhere was that Zach Sanford played with Pierre-Luc Dubois and Blake Wheeler. It was supposed to be, I'm trying to think, Svechnikov. It was supposed to be Svechnikov on that line. They practiced yesterday. I think there was even quotes about Dubois talking about Svechnikov on his line, or that he was getting a new line mate. But anyways, Scheifele and Stastny skated together last night at 5-on-5. Nick Ehlers got kicked off and booted to the, I think it was Lowry and Appleton. I know it was Appleton. So back-to-back, they didn't skate this morning. You're probably not going to get news on Winnipeg. So you could see line 3, Nick Ehlers. But this is a Toronto game, so I'll just let you take this one away.
Yeah, there's just not much interest for me on the Winnipeg side here. I think the interest would be the Toronto goaltending, right? Because the Toronto goaltending has been really bad for a couple months now. It's weird because you could make an argument Toronto's a top 3 team, at least their skaters are in the league. It's just their goaltending is just horrific. And, Peter Mrazek's out for 6 weeks now, so Colgren's going to be, the full-time backup to Jack Campbell or whatever. If I see Zach Sanford with Pierre-Luc Dubois and Blake Wheeler, that just screams bad defensive line to me. I think people kind of have rose-colored glasses from Sanford's time in St. Louis because he was on the top line with Ryan O'Reilly a lot, and everybody looks good defensively playing next to Ryan O'Reilly. So you just have to look at his time in Ottawa to see that he didn't really mesh well with any of the lines there. I don't know, Josh and I had talked about how Pierre-Luc Dubois' defensive numbers have really fallen off basically since the All-Star break. Blake Wheeler's hasn't been good defensively, I think, since I was in university. So it's one of those situations where I kind of have interest in Toronto too here, and it feels weird to say that because I'm the biggest Alex Kerfoot hater, I think, in NHL DFS this season, and then Ilya Mikheyev is on the other side. But like Mikheyev, I said it on our last show with Toronto that he's probably one of the more underrated wingers in hockey. Like, he's very good at both ends. Like, he can drive the play. He's good defensively. I think he'll help out that line there. Kerfoot won't help much, but like, this is a pretty good matchup going into that second line against Winnipeg. Now, the issue here is the Winnipeg penalty kill is really, really bad. And I think I want to take advantage of that penalty kill as much as I can with a very good Toronto power play. So like, I wouldn't be gung ho on just stacking, Toronto 2 even strength and walking away. Like, I would want to get Austin Matthews in. I would want to get Mitch Marner in. If you even want to get William Nylander, he hasn't been playing well himself, but I think that's been kind of priced into where he is now. So I think my favorite stack on the Toronto side is some sort of power play stack. Like, they're probably going to carry a reasonable amount of ownership here. Like, we see our top stacks tool has them near 20%. The second line will probably be in high single digits as well. So if you want to get away from might be a little bit of chalk and you have a nice filler stack, I think Toronto power play is a good way to go here. Really take advantage of that Winnipeg penalty kill, especially if Comrie, like, Hellebuck might start here, but Comrie started both the last times that they've had a back-to-back situation. And they were like tough games. Like, they weren't facing Toronto or Tampa or Boston or anything, teams with those qualities. But I think there might be a chance Comrie goes. So, a bad penalty kill, potential backup goalie here. Toronto power play is honestly one of my more favorite stacks on the slate here. If you want just 2-man like Tavares Mikheyev, I think that's fine as well. It's a relatively cheap 2-man. It can help you get in some more expensive stacks, but it's Toronto power play I like the most. On the Winnipeg side, there's just nothing of interest for me here. Paul Stastny and, Evgeny Svechnikov on the top line, Zach Sanford on the second line. Nikolai Ehlers played a minute and a half less than Zach Sanford did last night. Like, the Winnipeg coaching staff is just making an absolute meal of this lineup. If you want a one-off Ehlers, I think that's probably something that you can do here because, he might start on the third line, so a lot of people won't attack him. He's still really good. But with the way Winnipeg has their lines, how good Toronto is defensively, you're relying on Toronto goaltending falling on their face, which they very well may. They've done it a lot lately. I'm just not relying on it tonight.
Winnipeg flowcharts night, though. Bad matchup on the road, back-to-back, potentially their backup goalie in. I don't know. This has the makings of a big Mark Scheifele night, maybe Paul Stastny hat trick.
But do we have a flowchart sans Kyle Connor though? Like, do we have one of those handy?
We don't. He's usually the culprit, the guy that's, getting the 3-point bonuses and stuff in these bad matchups. So, and they don't want to use Ehlers like Kyle Connor. So, he's going to play like 16 minutes tonight, maybe less. But he was on the top power play. So I do like the Ehlers one-off call. I agree with you on Toronto power play. Toronto 1, if you want to leave on Bunting, I mean, I'm not going away from it, but I am going to have some Matthews, Marner, Nylander, 3-mans, maybe even with some Morgan Riley down to 5,100 in what looks to be a really good spot for a top power play QB. So yeah, it's a Toronto game for me. I will say the second line is coming in as pretty over-owned right now, 2.6% chance of being a top 2 stack and 7.4% ownership share. So if you're looking for a reason to get off Alex Kerfoot, you might just need to rely on the tools here, Cliffy.
Yeah, I have no problem leaving off Alex Kerfoot, but we were talking in our Discord, like, everybody I smack talk tends to score that night. So we just locked in at least 16 DK points for Alex Kerfoot tonight. Yeah,
I think he's got like 14 and 20 his last 2. So you better be careful about old Kerfoot. Let's go to the Hawks and the Panthers. We got a 2.4 implied total for Chicago, 4.3 for Florida. No confirmation on goalie. We'll go with Lankinen for now on the Hawks side. Bobrovsky starting at 8,400 for the Panthers. And the Panthers, after a 7-goal outing the other night against Montreal, decided to change everything up. I don't know if they changed up in game, but I don't think they went to these combos at any time. So these are just brand new lines. We've got Verhaeghe with Barkov. I've seen that before, but Sam Reinhart's their wing. Giroux goes down to 2C with Huberdeau and Ryan Lomberg coming off his first 3-point game of his career. And then a pretty good looking third line as well, Bennett, Marchment, and Anthony Duclair. So 3-wing second line. Florida's kind of tough to stack tonight just because of how these lines set up, how the power play is dispersed throughout the top 3 lines, which makes it interesting, especially with the 4.3 total. How are you treating the Panthers tonight?
I really like this Florida top line here tonight. They do have a sample together because they were playing Reinhart on the top line a little bit earlier in the season. So they do have about 90 minutes together. In those 90 minutes, controlling 60% of the scoring chances, generating 36 scoring chances per 60 minutes of 5-on-5. You only get 2 out of 3 on the top power play unit, but you won't get more than that on any other line for Florida. So you either have to accept it or just not play them. Like you don't really have a lot of options here. So I really don't mind that Florida top line. Like they're not coming in with excessive ownership either. The ownership is spread out across the 3 lines as it should be really, because there are 3 good scoring lines here. But we have them low double digits for ownership here, 2 out of the 3 on the top power play units. So I do like Florida 1. Florida 2, we won't have a sample with them, obviously, with Lomberg up there. Claude Giroux hasn't played center on this team yet, so we just don't know how they'll fare. But I was talking about it in our Discord a little earlier, like Lomberg's genuinely having a good season. Like he's been a good depth piece for this Florida team. Now, whether you want to talk about coaching / systems impact or whether it's the player, we can have that discussion, but it's not like he got moved to a new team. He just got moved to a new line. So I don't know why we would expect something significantly different going to play with better players. So like, if you want to get funky, I don't mind playing that Florida 2 line. It's just really Florida 1. Like we talk a lot about ice time drops for players across the league. At least the Florida top guys are still playing a lot of minutes. Now the problem here is that 5-forward power play that they're running has actually not looked very good. The numbers are bad. Just watching it on the ice, it looks worse. Like there's a difference between just being a forward skating around the zone and being a forward that has to play defense. Like they're playing, it is like a different way to play the game. And like I think they could be in tough on the penalty kill. And like Chicago hasn't been a terrible defensive team. In fact, Chicago and Florida have basically the same expected goals against numbers at 5-on-5 this month, like virtually identical. The difference is the offense. The Florida offense is a juggernaut and Chicago is a 1-line team. But I want to talk about that Chicago top line because they're not getting any ownership here. We had them at about 2% ownership on this slate, which, it kind of makes sense. But if you look at our lineup builder, we have them projected for nearly 34 points over on DraftKings. And if you look at the rest of the lines on this slate, it's more than any line on Carolina. It's more than any line on Minnesota. It's more, nearly as much as Calgary won. It's nearly as much as Dallas won. Like Chicago's top line has been playing well. They have been generating a lot of offense and they do play a lot of minutes together. Like if you're looking for a spot to stack an underdog, I think this is a spot, especially with that Florida goaltending. Like the Florida goaltending is just Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. It has been all season long. Some nights they look like they're going to stop 40-40, and some nights they look like they're better off with 6 skaters. So, I think of all the underdogs tonight, that Chicago top line is one of my favorite lines. So I actually do like both top lines here in this game. I think the way I'm going to end up building my lineups tonight, I might end up with a fair bit of Chicago 1. They're one of my favorite underdog lines.
Yeah, I think I'm going to be over on Chicago 1 as well. We're showing under 2% for the line in total right now. So closer to 10% chance of being a top 2 stack, that is. The one thing I'll say, like Florida, however you want to play them is fine. You can go Barkov with Giroux and Huberdeau. Like it's easier to hand build Florida lineups tonight if you want to get multiple guys in the power play. And so like if you're using an optimizer, because I was doing this before the show, trying to see what my exposures would be if the slate started like right now. And Yeah, I just was getting to like no Huberto, and it wasn't because he's not a good value, $6,800. And same thing with Giroux. We've got him at over 2x. But it's just the triple wing thing gets tricky. So you're gonna have to get creative, or just save if you're playing 50 lineups or whatever. Maybe save like 5 or 6 of them to like hand build Florida, or do something funky with the optimizers to make sure you're getting in the best pieces and you're not just going like Lomberg, Giroux, and Huberto and then going double center elsewhere. Mackenzie Weegar has not had an assist or any points for that matter in, I think I said 11 games. I was just box score watching him, which is pretty tough to do on a team that scores so much. But he's 5,900. He's actually my highest exposed defenseman right now. So there you go. The guy that hasn't scored or done much of anything in over 10 games. That's my guy tonight at 5,900. Hopefully they put him on the top power play, but I'm not really holding my breath. I've been doing this for the 5 forward power play for a number of games now. And who knows when they're going to try a defenseman on there. They just won't try Weegar, it seems like.
I mean, maybe tonight's the night. They've changed up every other line. Why wouldn't they change up the power play, right?
Yeah, let's hope so. Anything left on that game?
Just want to mention Seth Jones real quick. Wrote him up in the Power Plays article. That's up at awesemo.com, free to read for anybody that wants to go check it out. He's a guy that can block a lot of shots, donk and assist on the Chicago Blackhawks. Playing him at 6,500 on DraftKings wasn't very appealing, all the way down to 5,400. That's a lot more palatable. So don't mind him as a one-off tonight if you don't want to stack the top line.
Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned it because he's my second highest owned defenseman right now. So like Jones a lot. Let's go to Columbus and the New York Islanders. 2.6 implied total for the Jackets, 3.5 for the Islanders. Merzlikins and Varlamov expected to go here. These two teams played 2 nights ago, but I believe it was in Columbus. So now they're going in the Islanders home arena. So potentially some matchups different, but I don't think the Blue Jackets hard matched. So, and I don't think the Islanders really will here either. So not seeing a ton of ownership on either side. Actually, no forwards over 7% right now. Islanders one got there. They didn't really play that well a couple of nights ago on the road. At home, are you going back to Islanders one?
I honestly think I like the Columbus side of this game better. This might be another situation where this is where I might look for some underdogs here. And I know we kind of make fun of that Columbus top line quite a bit because, there was that heater that Patrick Laine went on like a month ago where he was scoring basically 2 goals every single night. That's just what he does. He can absolutely just blow the doors off a game by himself when everything's clicking right. And the reason I kind of like Columbus here tonight, I don't think people realize just how bad the Islanders have been defensively for a while now. For the entire month of March, the only teams with a worse expected goals against than them are Arizona and Montreal. And they're allowing more scoring chances per 60 minutes of 5-on-5 than any other team in hockey. More than the Habs, more than the Coyotes, more than the Flyers. Like they're really, really giving it up. Their actual goals against are closer towards the middle of the league, but that's been excellent goaltending. And let's face it, they've had pretty good goaltending for most of the last few years. So it's not a huge surprise. But again, like I said, Patrick Laine is a guy that can absolutely just decimate any team. And if every single player is going to be at, near, or over 3 expected goals against per 60 minutes and give up those chances to Laine and Voracek and that top line, I don't mind it. And especially where the Islanders have been sending out that Josh Bailey line as a shutdown line. I know. I feel like I've cursed. I feel like I've cursed them now though. But they've been sending out that Josh Bailey line, and it's just not a good line. They're allowing twice as many scoring chances as they're taking. I don't know why they're using them as a shutdown line. Maybe the coach is realizing every other line has also been bad defensively, but if you're going to go into that Pajot, Palmieri, Bailey line, which is 3.4 expected goals against in their sample together, which is terrible. I like that Columbus top line here tonight. The problem is the Islanders penalty kill has still stayed at least good to pretty good. And they, Josh says all the time, they don't take a lot of penalties. So not having an advantageous power play matchup kind of hurts, but at the same time, that Columbus top line has shown in the past how good it can be. The ownership a little over leveraged by top 2 stacks, but it's nothing extreme, a little over 3%. I think that's fine. I think that Columbus top line is another one of those cheap top line fillers from underdogs that we can use here tonight. So I will absolutely have some Roslovic, Laine, Voracek. They're scoring 3.9 goals per 60 minutes. That's just what Patrick Laine does. He just scores way more than he should. That's why he's such a special player. So I do like Columbus 1. I think the Columbus second line is honestly fine as well. Sillinger, Nyquist, Bjorkstrand, they've actually been playing reasonably well, 52% of the shot share when they're on the ice together. But I think I'd rather just stack the line that has the best goal scorer, and that's with Patrick Laine, where neither line's going to carry much ownership. So Columbus 1, definitely in play for me here tonight. As far as Islanders 1 goes, I don't have an issue playing them because they honestly have been pretty good. But they've been losing ice time. They're one of the teams that has been spreading out ice time, right? These guys are not going to play 19 or 20 minutes. They're going to play 16, 17, or 18 minutes. Brock Nelson has been excellent, but it's been kind of a hot streak. Got to wonder when that's going to end. So honestly, I think if anything, it'd just be kind of one-offing, some depth, Barzal, one-off I think is fine. Wahlstrom one-off I think is fine. Even Parise, I can't believe I'm saying that, one-off is fine. I think this is one of the favorites on the board here tonight where I won't be full stacking some guys. I'll just be more one-offing some players. Like I said, we're running into the problem where they're spreading out ice time, and I don't want to pay $15K for a stack that might only get 15 or 16 minutes. So in my 20 max, honestly think I'm out on stacking the Islanders, and I'm in on Columbus 1.
I'm in on Columbus 1 as well, which is scary. I have not been the biggest fan of them, but 2% on the road here, 2.6 total for Columbus on the road actually isn't that bad. You get Laine and Voracek, top power play. That's when I want to play Patrick Laine at 2 or 3%, not at 15% after he's scored 10 goals in his last 3 games. But yeah, Columbus 1, I will definitely have them in my MMA mix. And I liked Islanders 2 until I took a look at the top stacks tool, coming in as one of the more over leveraged lines. And the thing about Wahlstrom, I like Wahlstrom. He's a great per 60 player for DFS, that is, and especially playing with Barzal on a line that's been really high event, but he's been playing closer to 10 minutes in some of these games. So it's not a huge deal when you're 3,200. You need him to score or get an assist or a shot bonus. He could do that in limited time, but it's just kind of hard to stomach when you factor in that they're coming in as one of the more popular fillers just because it's a 3.5 total at home and it's a line too. So anything else in this game?
No, I think that's it. The Islanders defensemen are getting too expensive. Werenski is out tonight, but Bachfest only played 17 and a half minutes in that first game when he was on the top power play unit. So I guess it's back to our buddies like Andrew Peak and those guys. Let's hope Gavrikov doesn't double dong on us again. Yeah,
he was close to a hat trick a couple times, actually. I like to read some of the beats if I'm not watching the games or whatever. And they were saying 2 or 3 times, I guess he had good chances for a hat trick. So and this guy almost never shoots, Gavrikov. So I don't think we'll be seeing a multi-goal game, but potentially a blocks bonus because they've been playing so poorly defensively, giving up so many shot attempts. Peak, Gavrikov, I think are both fine options. Let's talk about Yahoo really quick. We partnered with them before the season started. They've been very good to us. And we've created a bunch of Yahoo tools. If you want to look at the NHL projections on a day, they're free, or if you're a premium member, you should know that we have Yahoo NHL DFS projections, as well as NBA and all the other sport, golf as well, which I think locked today. So you have to wait till next week. But if you want to get a free month of Awesemo Plus Platinum, that's a $90 value, I believe. All you got to do is be new to Yahoo, sign up for an account in the link in the description, and then deposit and play in a paid contest. And then Yahoo will hook you up Yahoo will send us your name, your username, and then we'll give you a coupon to use that free month of Awesemo Plus Platinum, you'll have all the different sports. So I can't believe we're still doing that deal for this line. I mean, it seems like a pretty crazy deal. If you haven't checked out Yahoo, not that you need a reason to, if you like NHL DFS, they've got good contests I was talking about earlier, but I can't believe that deal is still going on and there's people still signing up every day. So if you're new to Yahoo, if this is your first time watching, just go and sign up and then use all the stuff on the site. You get access to Discord, NHL Discord. It's about as good as it gets. I think we've probably got the best Discord of any of them on our site. So pretty tight knit community, a lot of tilting, a lot of laughs, and much more. So go join, support Yahoo if you have not already. Let's get to Montreal and Carolina. We've got a 2.1 implied total for the Canadiens, 3.9 for the Canes. Jake Allen and Freddie Anderson expected to go. Max Domi up on line 2 with Trocheck and Svechnikov. Marty Netchis down to line 4 with Martinook and Derek Stepan. I think there was a question of whether or not Nino was going to play. He's $2,600. You can tout him. I know you do it every show. $2,600 Nita rider. We can just get that out of the way. And I mean, I know what I like in this game. I know it's one of my favorite spots in the entire slate. But what are you drawn to here, Mr. C?
This is another spot where I think a power play stack is kind of in order. The Montreal penalty kill has just been god awful this entire month. Like, honestly, they're near 29th by expected goals against this month. Their actual goals against hovering near 10 per 60 minutes, which is really bad. They're also taking a lot of penalties as well, which just compounds that problem. And with Tony DeAngelo back, I wrote about it in the Power Plays article this morning. Tony DeAngelo makes a big difference on that top power play unit. He's very good at seeing the ice. Like, he has very good vision, good with the puck, good puck work. So they're scoring over 12 goals per 60 minutes on the power play when Tony DeAngelo is running it, which makes a big difference for that power play. So if you're worried about a little bit of ownership, because we do have ownership on both the top two lines, we have 12% top line, 10% second line. If you're worried about some of that ownership, I think just turn it into a power play stack. Just go Aho, Teravainen, add Svechnikov, Aho, Teravainen, Trocheck for a double center that a lot of people won't have. You talked about that Florida 3 wing line. If you need a double center on DraftKings, Sebastian Aho and Vincent Trocheck seems like one of the spots you can go, especially where none of the players involved are overly expensive, because Aho's prices come down quite a bit. So I think Carolina power play stack is what I like most in that game, just given how bad Montreal's penalty kill has been. And I don't think lineup matching really matters here, but I will say that Montreal second line, Pitlick, Dvorak, Anderson, just as a Montreal fan, that looks like an absolutely horrific defensive line. Josh Anderson, I really do like the guy as a player a lot. He's not a good defensive winger. He's just not whatsoever. Remy Pitlick is just as bad. And Christian Dvorak is not good enough to carry those guys. And the way Carolina runs their lines, they tend to use the top line against the second and third lines from the opponent. So I think if you're going to even strength stack anything, it's Teravainen, Aho, Jarvis. You mentioned it in our Discord this morning, just how good they've been. I just looked at their last 60 minutes, 36 scoring chances generated in those 60 minutes. Like, they've been pretty good offensively. Prices have come down. They're going to be over-owned if you're playing them. So, if you're playing just a straight Carolina 1 stack, you're going to have to, make sure you're not stacking chalk on chalk on chalk. But Carolina power play I kind of like the most, but Carolina 1 if you just want to get into that depth from the Habs. On the Montreal side, I kind of have interest with Mike Hoffman on that top line with Nick Suzuki and Cole Caulfield. Caulfield and Suzuki Caulfield and Hoffman, are both very good goal scorers. They play a lot of minutes. That's kind of the thing here, is that they're one of the lines that isn't going to lose minutes. Yeah, they'll play 18, 19. Suzuki will probably be over 20. It's just a really, really tough matchup. Montreal has a bad power play. I think if you're playing 150 lineups or something like that, having a handful with Montreal 1 is fine. I'm 20 maxing tonight. I think I pointed out some other spots where I'd rather go for my underdog stack. So for me, it's Carolina power play or Carolina 1.
Yeah, and I think if you're going to play Montreal 1, which is fine just because of the minutes, and Suzuki and Caulfield are good, and Hoffman, he's not on the top power play anymore, but he's dirt cheap, 3,500. So not a bad stack. I would probably just throw in Jake Allen at 6,900, because if Montreal 1 goes off, they have 2 or 3 goals. Pretty good chance that a much better chance that they win the game. And Jake Allen's probably going to see a ton of volume just based on how high event some of these Carolina lines are, at least offensively. So they're probably going to get caved, but we see goalies have crazy good performances at really cheap prices in some of these spots. So I actually don't hate Allen, although Carolina 1's actually probably my favorite spot on the night. The high ownership compared to their top 2 stack percentage is a little bit concerning. Some people will leave off Jarvis. It looks like we've got him projected at close to 10% ownership. So, not everyone is going to leave off Jarvis. This isn't a Kerfoot situation. But I did want to hear your thoughts also on just Domi moving up to line 2. Like, what does that do for you for that line? Is that going to make it stronger offensively? Because Trocheck and Svechnikov together have been really good without Netchus, and with Netchus, they were pretty poor.
Yeah, Domi's kind of an interesting guy. We were talking about him in our Discord. He's like a bad defensive player. There's no way around it. That's just what he is. But he's a very, very good playmaker, good in transition, good passer, all those things. And I think that's something that the line has kind of missed. Like Netchus is a good all-around player, but I don't think he's a playmaker quite to the level of Domi, and certainly not as good in transition, I don't think, as Domi is. And I think that's where he'll help that line, is he'll help them generate offense, better quality looks, let's say, once they get in the offensive zone. But like I said, he's bad defensively. So I think it's fine in this matchup because Montreal is one of the worst defensive teams in the league. Against a better team, I think you're going to see them struggle a little bit when they get pinned in their own zone.
All right. Good to know. And I think I gave him a minutes boost. If I haven't, I'll go and check all the minutes afterwards. Then obviously Netchus in the projections will get a minutes demotion playing on line 4. Let's go to Pittsburgh and Minnesota. We've got a 3.1 implied total for the Penguins, 3.3 for the Wild. Casey DeSmith confirmed right as we got on the show. Cam Talbot also confirmed for the Wild. So they're not starting Fleury against one of his former teams, which is a little bit surprising, but I don't know, maybe they just don't want him to face the pressure. And, it's not a game that really matters for either team in terms of playoffs, I don't think. Anyways, really low ownership on both sides for a 6.4. Yeah, we've got it at 6.4 right now on the lineup builder. Implied goals here, or total goals, according to Vegas, 2%, just under 3% for Minnesota 1. Under 2% for Minnesota 2. Nothing really for Minnesota 3 besides Eriksson Ek. Pittsburgh 1 under 2%. Pittsburgh 2 just over 1%. So there is nothing that the field is going to, it looks like, in this game. Is there anything that you really like here?
So what interests me about this is Josh and I, maybe a few weeks ago, we talked about how Minnesota had really fallen off the map defensively. They were giving up a lot of scoring chances. If you look back, especially at the end of February, after the All-Star break, it looks like they came out really sluggish out of the All-Star break. If you look at Minnesota's defensive numbers over the last 4 weeks, they're right in line with Boston. They've been absolutely locked down great defensively. And I think they're kind of sacrificing offense to do it. You see the top line in their last 110 minutes, only 19 scoring chances against per 60, which is stupendous defensively, but only 28 generated per 60 minutes as well, which is a little bit above league average. This line hasn't been a little bit above league average the entire season. I think there's been a genuine shift in how the team is approaching games, at least until they get to the playoffs. They're kind of the old Minnesota teams that we remember from the last, decade. playing really good defensively and hoping for, 3-2 games or 4-2 games or something like that. And when you combine that with the fact that, Pittsburgh's pretty good, not bad defensively as well, and the minutes concerns, because the Minnesota guys, their top guys, have seen their minutes nuked, along, with Calgary and all the other teams that we talk about. It is a big concern for me. The two things that Minnesota's top line has going for them are this. One, they're going to go into that third and fourth line from Pittsburgh. And to be honest, Jeff Carter and Evan Rodriguez on the third line have just not been good together this year. For whatever reason, they just haven't meshed at all. And I think that Minnesota top line can take advantage of that matchup. And two is Casey DeSmith. He's a step down from Tristan Jarry. There's just no other way to say it. He's a genuine backup goalie. He's not a guy that's waiting to be a starter or anything like that. So that's what Minnesota has going for them, but they're still just so expensive. I honestly think I would kind of rather play the Chicago top line here tonight, which kind of feels weird to say. But I'd rather have that Chicago top line playing 20 to 21 minutes together than that Minnesota top line playing Pittsburgh playing 17 minutes together. You know what I mean? For this relatively the same price. So I'm out on Minnesota 1. It's Minnesota 2 that I'm kind of looking at here. They've been generating a lot. 35 scoring chances generated in their last 100 minutes together, 35 per 60 minutes. They're really dominating the play. They're not playing a ton of minutes, which is a concern. I think Matt Boldy's down around 14, 15 minutes over the last couple of weeks, which, that sucks. But it's also kind of priced in, right? On DraftKings, they're under 12K as a line. If you want to leave off Boldy or leave off Gaudreau or whatever, just go with a 2-man. I think that's fine. But I like Minnesota 2 as a filler stack here. On the Pittsburgh side, I'm probably out on the Penguins. Brian Rust is back on the top line. That top line was broken up for a reason. That Pittsburgh top line was down around 44% of the scoring chances in 90 minutes before they were broken up and Evan Rodriguez moved to the top line. They weren't playing well at all. So, you have that. You have Jason Zucker coming back, playing his first game in 2.5 months or something like that on the second line. I think there are enough reasons to just avoid Pittsburgh here tonight. So I'm out on the Penguins. Minnesota 1's fine because there are matchup things here that can go in their favor, but I think it's Minnesota 2 as a filler stack that I like the most.
Yeah, I'm in on the top 6 for Minnesota here, just because of ownership. And then you mentioned the matchups for Minnesota 1 and 2. They're going to get, 2, 3, and 4. Eriksson Ek and Greenway and Foligno are going to be stuck on Crosby the whole game. I was hoping we would see actually some higher ownership from Pit 1 just so I could X them out, but under 2% with a 3 implied total. Are we Xing them out?
I'm not Xing them out, but I just know that the way I'm going to build, they're not going to get in my lineups at that price, because like I said, there are other lines in that price range that I'd rather play. I'd rather play Florida 1. I'd rather play Chicago 1. I'd rather play the top lines in that Florida game than either of the top line in this game.
Yeah, that's fair. I mean, just Eriksson Ek, such a tough matchup when that line is fully healthy. So it kind of mitigates the 2% and good price on Pit 1 here. So big enough slate too. I think you could probably get away with Xing them out. Although I certainly understand if you want to have 6 or 7% of them in MME, that's what I have right now. But I think I'm going to probably end up getting rid of that and going to some other lines that we like better. All right, let's go to San Jose and Colorado. We got a 2.2 implied total for the Sharks, 3.9 for the Avs. Capo Kakinen against Pavel Francouz. We've got Nathan McKinnon back. That seems like pretty good news. One of the highest owned players on the slate. Kadri back down to line 2. He hasn't played with Lehkonen because I believe Lehkonen's first game was when McKinnon was gone. Kadri was playing up with Nichushkin and Rantanen. So he's going to get to play with Lehkonen, Burakovsky for the first time. I know you love Lehkonen. So are you firing up Colorado 2 here against the lowly Sharks on a back-to-back after they just got trounced by Arizona?
I had been thinking about it, but I don't know if you checked the top stacks lately. But I think they're one of the worst leverage lines on the entire slate. In fact, they are the worst leverage line on the entire slate. We have them as a 4.7% top 2 stack coming in with nearly 13% ownership. And it makes sense, right? Nazem Kadri on the top power play unit. This is an absolute smash spot. Like San Jose has been one of the worst defensive teams, like bottom 10 defensive team in hockey over the last month. I think they've been a little bit better with Erik Karlsson back, but it's a back-to-back on the road, which is a really tough situation, especially going into Colorado, like going into elevation. I can't imagine that's going to be very good for them. So I don't have a particular problem playing Colorado too. This is a great spot. One thing I will say is Colorado's second line kind of has deceiving numbers. When Gabriel Landeskog's not on that line, they don't really drive as much offense. Like they control the play relatively well, but they don't generate as many scoring chances, expected goals when either Landeskog or Nichushkin are off that line. Now, I think Lehkonen can help in that regard, but it is his first game. How well are they going to mesh immediately? This is a huge ownership. I think I'd honestly rather just go to Colorado one. I wonder if people are going to be scared off McKinnon because it looked like he had broken his hand and they were worried about him being out for like 6 weeks or whatever. But now here he is back like 4 or 5 days later, whatever it is now. So I kind of wonder, are people going to be scared off of him? And I certainly understand, not wanting to play him. But we have this Colorado top line, which has been super elite, 65% of the scoring chances when they played together so far this month of March, 43 chances generated per 60 minutes of 5-on-5, and an elite power play on top of all of that. And they're coming in under 10% ownership. Like, I think it's Colorado one for me. I'm going to avoid that steep Colorado 2 ownership. Like, if you want to throw Nazem Kadri in instead of Nathan McKinnon, lower the cost of the line a little bit, make it more of a power play stack type thing, I think that's just fine. I think that's something that you can do if you're worried about McKinnon's hand. Save a few $1,000s and go from McKinnon down to Kadri or like 1,500 or whatever it is on FanDuel. Save that money, put Kadri in Nathan McKinnon's place, make it a power play stack. I think that's certainly something you can do here. But, the San Jose top line has been playing a little bit better offensively, but they've been giving up a lot defensively the other way. 37 scoring chances against in their last 60 minutes of ice time was just absolutely horrific defense. So Colorado one, I think, is just fine for me in this game. Colorado 3 kind of interests me a little bit, but they're coming in over owned. I think it's a spot where I just one off a new hook or one off a comp, or I wouldn't full stack the line or anything like that. So Colorado 1, I'm not playing San Jose here. I know they have been generating more offense. They're coming in with good leverage. It back-to-back on the road. They're not coming in that cheap. I think there's enough reasons to fade San Jose 1 here. You want to play them. They do have good leverage. You can get 5 or 10% of them or whatever and go on your way. But I think it's one of those underdog spots that I'm going to be avoiding. So Colorado 1, maybe some one-offs from Colorado 3 for me.
So we did get an ownership update right as the show started. So the Colorado ownership looks a little bit different. We got Colorado 2 at 7% instead of what do we have? I think we have it like 12% or something before. And then McKinnon came up. So we had an issue with McKinnon not showing up in ownership. And that was like pulling down the Colorado 1 aggregated ownership. So they're going to be super high owned. Colorado 1, I think the highest owned line of the night right now, right up there with Toronto. It's basically interchangeable. They're right now my highest owned line. I would love that if they were my highest owned line. I think they'll be up there for me, top 2 or 3, at the very least. And then Colorado 2, even with the negative leverage, I think I'm still going to be firing away on a lot of Colorado 2. San Jose 1, kind of the same situation with Pitt 1 that we just talked about. Like really tough 5-on-5 matchup, assuming they get a lot of McKinnon. They are cheap. They do have 2 really quality players that are on the top power play. I guess they're not even that cheap. Timo's 7,500. I thought they were less expensive. I guess if you add in Bear Banoff at 2,900, it gets more reasonable. But yeah, I'm not going to get to a much of any Sharks. And it's just a Colorado 1 night. Makar and Taze are playing like close to 30 minutes some of these games. I don't know why they're doing that. I don't know why Nathan McKinnon is fighting this late in the season when they've got the playoffs locked up. And I think they're still fighting for the number 1 seed, if I'm not mistaken. So don't fight people, Nathan McKinnon, especially not Matt Dumba. This guy's gotten like 2 or 3 injuries from fighting. So yeah, maybe just don't fight if you're Nathan McKinnon. But outside of that, yeah, this is a Colorado 1 game. This is a Colorado 1 slate. They're right up there for me with Toronto 1. I mentioned Carolina 1, Carolina power play as well. Anything more to
add? No, I think that's it for me. The only defenseman on the San Jose side I kind of had interested is Jacob Magna, playing over 20 minutes a game. He can definitely get some shot block bonuses on DraftKings, min price. Don't mind him as a punt.
All right, Mr. C, have you ever wondered how to get into the Awesemo Hall of Fame?
I have been wondering. Can you tell me how?
Yeah. All you got to do is download the avatar, the Awesemo avatar from awesemo.com/avatar, place in the top 3 of a contest with over 5,000 contestants, and then tweet your wins to @Awesemo HOF, Awesemo Hall of Fame, the Twitter account. And then you win a free month of Awesemo Plus Platinum. It's a pretty good deal. You got a little extra money in your pocket, and then you get the free month of Awesemo Plus Platinum. So let's look at some winners from recently. We've got Mike Diamond, $15,000 win plus the free month of Awesemo Plus Platinum. He's got the logo. This was in NBA. Congrats to Mike Diamond. We've got Rhyme Life Music as well with a couple nice wins here in NBA as well. Rocker Roller 707 in NASCAR with a solo win, it looks like, in the 20K to first. The Commish, wow, $80,000 win in PGA. I believe that was last weekend. So we've got NASCAR, PGA, NBA. We've got a CSGO win from K Silva, 86, 3,000. Looks like a solo takedown. That's pretty hard to do in CSGO. And I know, especially in some other esports League of Legends, especially. And then we've got Dave DeRemer. It feels like you mentioned his name on the shows like every other day. He took down looks like a a 5-pick parlay. Pick 5 was his horse racing. $25. He turned it into $959.97. And I shout out Odd Shopper as well as a bunch of the guys at the site who do the betting content. So if you're not in the Awesemo Hall of Fame, tonight could be the night. It's a big contest, over 5,000 contestants tonight on DK and I believe on FanDuel as well. And then, if you do it on Yahoo, I think we'll probably give it to you if you take down the $15 tonight. If you beat me tonight and have the Awesemo avatar, I'll get you the free month if you tweet at me. All right, let's go to the Kings and the Flames. 2.2 implied total for the Kings, 3.7 for the Flames. Cal Peterson expected to go. It was quick last night. Markstrom going for the Flames. They did keep together Danault, Moore, and Arvidsson, as well as Kopitar, AFL, Kempe. There was some question as to whether or not they would start the game together last night. And they stuck together the whole game. And line 2 actually played a ton of minutes. Danault and Trevor Moore played well over 20. Arvidsson never really gets over 18. I think he got to about 18 last night. So if you're looking to play 2.2 implied totals, maybe some LA2 at no ownership. But I think we're going to be focusing more on Calgary in this one. What do you like, Cliffy?
I didn't like anything from the Los Angeles side when I started researching that game. And then I went, and like you mentioned, I went and looked at the ice times from last night, because Los Angeles went 11-7 last night, 11 forwards, 7 defensemen. And, they typically play their top 6 at a relatively heavy amount anyway. They had like you mentioned, they had a bunch of guys over the 20-minute mark last night. Now, I guess that could work one of two ways. Like, are they going to be tired tonight going into Calgary? Or, are they still rested enough that they could play another really good game at 20 or 21 minutes? Like, I think going back to Los Angeles too is perfectly fine here. Calgary has gotten away from hard line matching. Like, they typically play top 6 against top 6, but honestly, they'll run out just about any line against anyone. So like, line matching isn't one of the concerns here. That Los Angeles second line still generating a lot. Their last 80 minutes together, 48 scoring chances per 60 minutes, like just absolutely monster scoring chance numbers. And they're coming in with no ownership, absolutely none. So if you're playing 20 max, 1 or 2 is fine. If you're playing 150, you only need like 5 or 6. You're going to be like way over the field. Nobody is playing Los Angeles here tonight. It's not as if Calgary's impervious. Like, we have seen them get blown up at home before. It is a really tough spot. I'm gonna X out Los Angeles 1. I think they've been slow paced enough and haven't been generating enough that you can just straight up avoid them. Especially where Calgary's penalty kill is super elite. Like the top line power play correlation just doesn't matter. So I think I'm gonna leave Los Angeles 2 checked and leave them in the player pool. I might even give them a thumbs up to make sure I get to 1 or 2 lines. But I'm not going overboard. Like, sometimes I'll have like 20 or 25% of a filler line if I really like them. I'm not doing that with Los Angeles tonight. I might have a couple. But yeah, I don't mind Los Angeles 2 at all here tonight, but it is the Calgary side I like better. It honestly, it is Calgary 2. We have them with a lot of ownership, but honestly, it's a situation where I don't think I'm stacking Calgary lines here tonight. The spread out minutes really bother me with this team. And Los Angeles doesn't take penalties. They're one of the least penalized teams in hockey over the last month. And when Calgary's top line really rolls, despite playing 17, 18 minutes, it's because of the power play. So honestly, I think this is another situation where I'm going to fade the super expensive line and just one-off some pieces from the depth, one-off Mangiapane, especially where he's only 3,500 on DraftKings. Like, we have Blake Coleman with a very good projection in our lineup builder. We have him for over 8 points on DraftKings, for under 3K on DraftKings. He's another guy I don't mind one-offing here. So I think it's just going to be picking some one-offs from the Calgary forwards, and then maybe 1 or 2 Los Angeles 2 stacks.
Yeah, if you're just entering in a ton of lineups, I think hard to not get some Calgary 1, Calgary 2, and probably Calgary 3. Like, you don't love playing third lines tonight, but you could see them exploding if LA does take more penalties than they have been taking recently. Like, if they take 3 or 4, you could see a huge number here for the Flames. Problem is, where is it going to come from with all the spread out ice time? So I think my favorite here is Calgary 1 at these decreased prices. Kind of the minutes are kind of baked in. The only issue with them is even if they're not matching, they're still going to see a decent amount of the no more in Arvidsson. That's just not a line I want to go up against that much. So it'd be more looking for production from the power play. I think that's fine. I didn't even realize Coleman was 2,800. I saw people talking about him as a cash play. And I figured he was like 4,200, but 2,800, really good price for Coleman as a one-off there on DK if you're into that type of thing. I was looking at just as an aside, LA just gets like no respect in the betting markets. 2.2 implied total. I just had to look up their records. Let's see, there's 6 points behind Calgary. I know the goal differential is massive between those two. LA is pretty much at even, and Calgary's got a plus 70 goal differential. So maybe that's part of it, and the back-to-back. But yeah, it seems like they're never even close to favored on the road here, and they are like firmly entrenched in a playoff spot right now. So you got any thoughts on that?
Yeah, I'm actually glad you mentioned that, because Los Angeles is being treated like Montreal here tonight. Yeah. Like, honestly, like look at the totals for Carolina, Montreal. Look at the totals for Calgary and Los Angeles. They aren't that far off. Los Angeles has virtually identical expected goals against and goals against numbers at 5-on-5 over the last month as Tampa Bay does. So like, Los Angeles is a playoff team. This isn't, Buffalo rolling in town. This isn't Arizona rolling in town. Like, I get the 2.2 total kind of because two reasons. One, Calgary has an elite penalty kill. They don't allow shorthanded goals or power play goals. And two, the top line has really been struggling to generate offense. But this is still at least a good defensive team, not a great one, but a good one. It's got to be the road back-to-back factored in. And I do think Calgary is an elite team, but like I said, Los Angeles is being treated like Montreal here tonight, and I don't think that's necessarily right.
Agreed. Glad we're on the same page there. So yeah, go out and bet the Kings at, what are they, plus 2? Let's see. Well, you should go on Odd Chopper and check out the best number you can get. But let's see, they're at plus 230 right now. It seems like an okay bet if you're looking to hit a long shot.
264 over on Pinnacle.
Well, yeah, there you go. All right, let's do the final game. Actually, before we do that, if you guys could like and subscribe. See, we got a bunch of people coming in as the show has gone on. We're at close to 90 watching right now. If you guys could, if you're not subscribed, please do subscribe. We just hit 75,000 actually yesterday. So big milestone. We'll hit 25,000 additional to get to 100,000. Then have a party at some point in the near future. So like and subscribe. That is very important to us. And if you don't want to give us your money, just give us your subscription for free. And that's the next best thing you can do. Actually, upcoming shows after this, we've got NBA Locks Before Lock at 4:30 Eastern and the NBA Deeper Dive at 5 Eastern, followed by NBA Live Before Lock at 6 Eastern. Did I filibuster enough for you to get a hat trick pick? Because we got one more game and then it's go time.
Yep.
All right, let's go to the Stars and the Ducks. 3.1 implied total for Dallas, 2.5 for Anaheim. Jake Ottinger and John Gibson are your projected goalies, although neither confirmed just yet. This is the lowest total on the entire slate, and it's the late night hammer. We're going to Dallas 1 here on the road. They've let us down a bunch of times recently. It seems like a spot where they could get it going up against Getzlaf, Mayhew, and Sonny Milano, if that's going to be the matchup. What are your thoughts on this one here?
So we talked earlier about how bad the Islanders have been defensively. The Dallas Stars have been similarly awful defensively for at least 4 or 5 weeks now. In the month of March, they have the 5th worst expected goals against mark at 5-on-5. The only teams worse are Montreal, Arizona, the aforementioned Islanders, and Philadelphia. Like, this team is just falling apart defensively. That includes the top line. The top line for Dallas, in their last 100 minutes together, I had to double check this to make sure that I wasn't, inputting the wrong things on Natural Stat Trick. 36 scoring chances against per 60 minutes. Oof. Now, they're still generating a lot. They're generating 45. So obviously this is still a very good offensive line, but they're giving up a lot, which tells me like they're not really controlling the play. It seems like they're basically just trading chances with the opponent. And like, Getzlaf and Milano haven't been awful together. 48% of the scoring chances in their sample together. And I think Jerry Mayhew will actually help defensively. Like, he's not a bad defensive winger. Not a great offensive one, but he's not a bad defensive winger. And like, Anaheim has been middle of the road defensively. So like, when I was writing up Joe Pavelski last night for the Power Plays article, I really liked Dallas 1. I still like Dallas 1 here tonight, but I think it's one of those situations where it's turning more into an ownership play for me than it is the fact that it's a great spot. It's the fact that they are one of the better leverage spots that we have on the slate here tonight. And like I said, they're still generating a lot, and it's not like, I don't think the Anaheim top line is going to be great as a shutdown line. I just don't think they'll be awful. So I do like Dallas 1, but it's honestly turning into more of an ownership thing for me. No Dallas second or third lines for me. Absolutely, like, get out of here with Studenich and Nemesnikov. The Anaheim second line, interestingly enough, Zegras and Troy Terry have just played awful together this year. Like, for whatever reason, whatever sample they have together, they just do not play well. And I can't imagine that Derek Grant is going to be the guy to turn that ship around. So where that line is one of the most over leveraged lines on the entire slate and hasn't been playing well, I'm out entirely on the Anaheim forwards here. I think it's Dallas 1. I don't see anything in their depth that's honestly worth playing here.
Yeah, I do like Dallas 1. I mean, you mentioned the defensive numbers recently, but offensively they've been much better than they have been defensively. Let's see, 3.9 expected goals for per 60, 3.5 against. So it's just been a lot of up and down. But you just want lines that really generate a lot of chances. They certainly do so. I don't love any of how the lines are looking for Anaheim. I'll probably use Anaheim top 6 as fillers, but like 10% almost on this Anaheim 2 line. I had them written down, but that seems pretty hefty ownership for a filler here, especially because you mentioned Zegras and Terry haven't played all that well together. So this is probably a Dallas one game for me in a late night hammer. I think that is all. Do you have anything else on this one?
No, the only thing I kind of want to mention is Miro Heiskanen. He's on the top power play unit coming in with no ownership, but they also said they're really, really going to control his minutes. And I think he only got 14 minutes in his first game back. He's just coming off mono, actually. So it makes sense. Like, I think if you're going to play any defenseman from Dallas, I think it would still be John Klingberg.
All right. Goalies, any goalies you like, and then give your hat trick pick, and then we'll be done here.
Yeah. He's super chalky, but I do like Jacob Markstrom tonight because, we have said Los Angeles has had trouble scoring, so especially the top line. So I don't mind Markstrom as a chalky goalie. Cam Talbot as well. Like I said, Minnesota's been much better defensively. Don't mind Cam Talbot as a reasonably priced goalie. Elvis Merzlikins, if you want to get a little bit cheaper, going up against that Islanders team that I think is probably coming a little bit overrated. And honestly, if you want to go super cheap and get really spicy in tournaments, I like the other side of that Calgary game and going with Calvin Peterson, because it seems like that guy's probably going to face a lot of rubber tonight. It's just whether he lets in 5 or lets in 1.
Yeah, speaking of guys that are going to face a lot of rubber, I'll throw in Kaapo Kähkönen if you can stomach it on the road against Colorado. So this is like if you have two really chalky stacks and one of the higher owned defensemen, and you just need a guy that's cheap that could give you 20, like 18 points or something in a loss. I think he's a good candidate for that. And then I mentioned Jake Allen a little bit earlier. Hat trick pick.
Andrei Svechnikov.
I like it. I'll go with Jason Robertson getting his third hat trick of the season in the late night hammer. Thank you everybody for joining. Hit the like button on the way out and subscribe if you haven't already. Josh and Cliffy will be back tomorrow. Cliffy will be hosting, and good luck on tonight's slate.